Okay, so what we're going to do now is what's called a cycle count. And this is essentially counting your inventory and adjusting your inventory. You can find it from the inventory button and cycle counts. So within the cycle count area, we have up here where we can add a new count. We can filter by the different statuses of counts. So in progress means we're currently working on it. Updated means that the count has been completed and the adjustments to the inventory have been made. Cancelled means we canceled the count. And these are traditional counts where you choose a department or sub-departments and count the inventory for those. There's also the ad hoc count feature. Ad hoc count, essentially it allows you to go around the store and every time you scan an item, it adds it to the count. So if you scan a particular capo, then you need to count all your capos on the sales floor and also in your back room for overstock. And what it'll do is it'll add that item into your count. It's actually quite useful for doing quick counts where you just run around with a laptop and scan your inventory in for basically your most popular inventory or inventory that's running low and you suspect it's out of line. So right now we're going to focus on just a normal inventory count. We're logged in as admin. It's important to leave the view variance button unchecked when you're creating a new count. It essentially does all the calculations for the variance of your count off the hop. You want to click this once you've completed your count and you want to see where the differences are, and just keep in mind that it does take a few minutes to run the process. Okay, so we're going to click New Count. And from here, we're going to throw in our username and our password. So we can count the entire music department by dragging it and dropping it over here. And that's going to, if we were to drag and drop the music department, it would mean we're counting all of the sub-departments within there. Now, if I just want to count electric strings, for instance, I can drag electric strings. I can drag electric strings and put it in item type to count. Drop it in there. Now this count includes music, accessory, strings, electric. So if I click Start Count, the count has been created. All the SKUs which are included in the count are shown below here. And if there was multiple item types in the count, it would show each type listed here. Since we're only doing one type, you're only going to see the one. The count ID is 1. The count date is March 6, 2014. It was created by admin, and its status is in progress. We're counting at the main warehouse. Once again, once you get into multiple warehouses, it gets a little more complicated, but we can walk you through that process as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click on the count ID to enter into the count and begin counting our inventory. Throw your username and password in. And you can add additional information such as front sales, shelf number 1, could be something along those lines. And you can get down to as much detail as you want, but you can also leave these blank. Now you're going to note that default add 1 to count is checked off, and that's what you're going to want to use if you're using a barcode scanner and you're just going through and scanning every item individually. Now if you want to scan an item and enter the quantity that's there, such as guitar strings for instance, you might want to just scan one of them and count, okay, there's 12 sets of guitar strings. You can uncheck that. I'll show you how the system reacts differently each way. So unchecked, I click down here, I grab the scanner, and I scan the item. So when this checkbox is not checked, the focus automatically goes to the quantity counted. So I can say I have 12 sets of EXL 145s. Now, if I have this checkbox clicked, what's going to happen is I'm going to scan, and you're going to notice that the focus, rather than staying here, shifted right down to the next line, waiting for me to scan the next item. This way you do not need to touch your keyboard. You can continue scanning and scanning. Now, if for instance there's 12 EXL 125s again, all you do is you change this and you can update. So if you have thin inventory with multiple SKUs, sometimes it's nice to be able to just go and scan. Whereas if you have 10 or 12 of an item, sometimes it's nice to be able to just scan the item once and input the quantity that's on the floor. So something else that's going to be useful is your room. So you can have front sale, shelf 1. Now, back room overstock. Shelf, we don't even need to have that information there. So maybe we got a deal on the EXL 125s and we have a ton of them in stock. So I click on that and I say we have 60 more out back. So what it's going to do though is it's going to add the location here, back room overstock. So if we have a variance on our count, we know where to go look and see where everything was counted. Now with smaller counts, a lot of times you don't necessarily need to use this information. However, if you're doing a larger count, sometimes it can be useful. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Click on that and hit escape. So now we're back into the count management screen. If I click view variance now, it's going to calculate the variance. So the selection quantity, this is how many items the system says we have in stock. Since we just uploaded these items into the system, everything's essentially at 0. But what you're going to notice here is we counted 76 sets of EXL 125 for a value of $248.52. The system says we have 0 in stock at the moment. So the selection quantity, or the selection value, was $0. Now the variance is a positive 76 units, which gives us a total variance of $248.52 for this single line item. You're going to see the total variance up here, which is $371.64. And the total selection value, since we don't have any strings in stock at all at the moment, it's at 0. And we counted $371 worth of inventory. Now, if I hit update count, what's going to happen is the system's going to go and it's going to take this SKU and it's going to adjust its quantity to match what we counted. So even if this said 50, it's going to adjust the 50 units up by 26 units to equal 76 units. In this case, it's just going to adjust it up by 76 units to match. And the same thing here. Now all these that have no variance, there'll be no adjustment made. Now if I was to click cancel count, it's literally going to cancel the count. Everything that we've counted, it's just going to change the status to canceled. It's not going to affect our inventory, and it's just going to go into the status of a canceled count. So you can go and review it in the future, but it essentially has no effect on your inventory. So we're going to go ahead and update the count. When we click update, it's going to ask us if we want to back up our database. I would highly recommend you back up your database before you complete a count, because we are updating significant number of SKUs in a systematic way. If there's any mistake, you could have significant variability to your inventory. So we're going to say yes here and back up the database. I highly recommend you back up your database. The backup was successful, and it's reconfirming to make sure that we do want to update this count. If we're not finished the count and we have a large variance, it's going to adjust any item that we missed in the count down to 0. So we're going to say OK. Since that was a small count, it completed it very quickly. With larger counts, you'll see the progress bar up here, and it could take several minutes to finish. Now, if we go to Queries, Inventory Movements, which can also be found from here, Inventory Movements. So we're looking at March 6th. You're going to see inventory count number 1 as the reference to the adjustment. It was done by user admin, and we adjusted the inventory for EXL 125s by positive 75 units, EXL 145s by positive 12 units. Happened in the main warehouse, so the unit value was 327. The total value was $2.48, $3.27 times 76. So we can click here and hit escape. Now if we go to inventory, browse inventory, we'll refresh and click the refresh button, or you can click here and use the enter key. Now if we sort by quantity on hand, we're going to see we have 76 and 12 units in stock. So that's the basics for a very, very simple inventory count. I'm going to have a few more videos to show you more detailed inventory counts and ad hoc inventory counts, and try and go over some of the issues that you might run into while doing a count. One thing that I will say, the smaller the count, the easier it is to manage. What you're going to see a lot of the time is when you start getting into counts, you're going to bite off more than you can chew. The smaller the count, the better it is. If you can just do your electric guitar strings, do your electric guitar strings and set up another count for your acoustic strings. You can do very small counts. That might be a little bit extreme. You can do all your strings at once, typically, but the smaller the better. Remember, you can always add another count in the matter of minutes and have that running at the same time. Now, security settings are also going to allow who can view variances, who can cancel counts, and who can update counts. So the person who's actually doing the counting and going around the store scanning items, they're not necessarily going to have the privilege of updating the count. Okay, so that's the basics for inventory counts, and you can watch a few of the subsequent videos to get into more detail.